Mwananchi, tabia zako ziko chini, unapenda kulipa hongo na kutumia njia za uongo, una mipango na hata watoto wa kando, haujui hata majina yao. Kura yako uliuza maini figo, ukakulia hadi dini, kisha wasema tukuthamini, na wewe hapo hauaminiki, na wewe hapo haupangiki.
Wapi kidero when you need to slap somebody? Complain ufisadi kwani ulidhani t-shirt 50 bob leso siku ya campaign ilikuwa free? Ni 5 year loan investment utalipa king ya parliament. We are one, amani we are one. Na utumishi kwa wote, utu missing CCTV we were watching. Racial insecurity na job opportunity ni kama mti ya kibiriti. Side moja heavy, usiniambie Kenya kuna umaskini, kwani hizi fat fingers zinaibia nane? Maskando ina threaten our survival. Media define leadership, na sura ukiaka front page na improve readership. Ambia wase wa Twitter wa hashtag hii ama hash reality doesn't make a good TT. Commission of inquiry wanakula commission bila kutupa ukweli, ni kubaya. Baka kukiwa kuzuri unashindwa nini mbaya. Machozi ya perpetrator ineza dilute damu ya victim ilimwagika. After all is said and done, all will be said, nothing will be done. You're not my tribe, but you're my blood type. Like it doesn't have to take tragedy to know that.
Sheria.
And a very, very, very beautiful afternoon to you. Habari gani? Hey! What a wow. You know what? I've missed you guys. I wasn't here the past few days. Lazima kupumzika manze. And my goodness, have things been happening in this country? I've been itching to actually come for today's show, especially looking at the things that are going on in our country. And I'm like, my goodness, we have so much to discuss. But why don't we start with a welcome? Karibuni sana. This is Sheria Dive right here on Power Radio with me, WaNjeri. And I am the in-house lawyer. And here we talk all legal things. Tunaongea maneno ya sheria. All right. The idea here is to actually educate the people and for us to have a discussion about the state and the future of our nation and how the Constitution of Kenya is being implemented. And today we talk about public participation. You know, there's a line I like in that Sheria song, Sarabi and Giuliani. Giuliani says, after all is said and done, all will be said and nothing will be done. So today we talk about public participation. In public participation, is it that all will be said and nothing will be done? Or is it that all will be said and some will be done? Or is it all will be said and all will be done? As usual, I'm just so happy to have you on board. If you know someone who needs to be listening to this conversation, why don't you just send them that link and invite them to just jump on board with us on Sheria Dive right here on Power Radio. And of course, if you'd like to give your comments, your thoughts, your questions on today's topic, you can do that on the YouTube live chat and also on social media at Power Radio, at James K. WaNjeri. And we will be looking out for those and replying to your questions. But one of the things I want to ask you is the impeachment of the deputy president. Guys, what do you think? What's happening, man? What are your thoughts on this impeachment? Because it's going to feature in our discussion today as we talk about public participation, especially because of the happenings of yesterday. And today there are also ongoing public participation activities. So, what do you think about the impeachment or the process to try and impeach the Deputy President, Mr. Rigathi Gachagua? All right. Let us know your thoughts. But as usual on this show, we give the first hour to our featured artist. And today's featured artist, and remember here, we only play Kenyan music. We only celebrate Kenyan music. And Kenyan music simply means that the people who are singing the song or are producing the song are Kenyans. Sawa? Now, our featured artist today is one Mr. Mutoria. And now, in case you don't know, you may have heard that Mutoria is actually suing Foi. I think she's called Foi Wamboi. Because Foi featured his song on an ad that she was doing for Techno. And this, of course, comes hot on the heels of Nonini's case against one Brian Mutinda for using a song in promoting their business. And of course, this also comes on the back of one Willis Raburu suing Airtel for using Bazoo, which he says is his copyright. Ladies and gentlemen, the artists are eating, and they're eating well. Sawa? Anyway, here's Mutoria. Let's get the first song. We're going to be featuring 5 of his best songs. So if you've never heard of Mutoria, this is your opportunity. And remember, of course, to just check out his music on all the streaming platforms. And if he has a show coming up, why don't you buy that ticket? Because remember, art is a bloodline of any nation. But here I am. Here we are. So let's do something great together.
Power Radio. Tune in and power up.
It's been a really long time, tangu nikuvutie. I only called today, but I think about you every day. Najua nilichoma, yeah. I take the blame. Juu tangu iyo day, I've never been the same. Find me at B&D of late kila weekendi. Nimekosana na wengi, lakini sisi I'm regretting. I know you know me well, usikate juu niko mlevi. Please don't hang up on me, niache niseme ukweli. I've been upset cause no one loves me better. Hata wanipende aje, na wapenda shingo pande. I know you're upset cause no one loves you better. Hata wakupende aje, utahepa someday. I'm not stalking you, niliona umepost pictures are cost. Your new man doing the most. You seem happy, you seem so happy. Called to let you know I'm taken but available for you. Bestie, we nirudishie phone. Cause you don't understand what the hell is going on. Kilimani reminds me I'm alone. Oh, I need to call her now. She needs to know what's in my heart. I've been upset cause no one loves me better. Hata wanipende aje, na wapenda shingo pande. I know you're upset cause no one loves you better. Hata wakupende aje, utahepa someday. I've been upset cause no one loves me better. Hata wanipende aje, na wapenda shingo pande. I know you're upset cause no one loves you better. Hata wakupende aje, utahepa someday.
Reminds me I'm alone. Oh, I need to call her now. She needs to know what's in my heart. Oh, Kilimani reminds me I'm alone. Oh, I need to call her now. Needs to know what's in my heart.
You know, I think it takes a lot of guts to tell someone that no one can love them better than you. And I don't know, I guess Kaushape and Doivo, it's hard to try and get, love from someone else. That's Mutoria with Better. Fantastic, fantastic artist. And by the way, when I knew Mutoria, he was just a piano player. He just used to play piano. And of course, he has his roots in the church as well because he's played a lot in church bands. But he's made that transition from an instrumentalist into a musician, and it's just been a fantastic transition for him. Okay, let's get song number 2. This is from Mutoria, which is your favorite song, by the way. Why don't you vote 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5? That's your voting. So you can put that in the YouTube live chat, and then we can see. So number 1 was Better, and here is number 2.
From sunrise to sunset, all day and night. Our radio.
Pressure, ona vile inatupeleka. Pesa, kikosa leo unakesha na kuna kesho. Tulia kidogo, ganga ya leo. Na ukinge moyo wako, moyo wako. We've made it this far, we're gonna be okay. With wonderful scars that help us find our way. And when it gets dark and you cannot feel my faith, pick up the guitar and sing our song again.
Med manyo kwe Timgi machunyi dwaro Kungena mungeyo Kima kinyo pango Nikech we ran away from misery. We had to pay for it dearly. Tutachelewa Lakini ndoto zetu hatutachorea. We've made it this far, we're gonna be okay. With wonderful scars that help us find our way. And when it gets dark and you cannot feel my faith, pick up your guitar and sing our song again.
Fantastic. That's song number 2 right there by One Mutoria. I'm just loving this music. Mutoria is a fantastic, fantastic artist. Let's get number 3. Hapa zinakuja back to back kama MP3 manze. Let's go.
From sunrise to sunset, all day and night. Our radio.
never my intention to fall in love again. I remember it so clearly. Akiniona nikipanic. I was never made for parties. She went ahead and held my hand. She said, life's too short, better shoot your shot. Kahukoredi basi kunywa shot. Nakoko sober then even better. Najua behutani hepa. She said, life's too short, so I'll shoot my shot. Yeah, I believe I was made for more. If I don't tell you, then I'll never know. I would rather tell you now.
I was looking for attention when she came in my direction. I wasn't looking for a good sign, no. I was tired of the drama till she opened her mouth. She spoke to my soul. She broke all the walls I'd built inside. Amenifanya nipende tena. VP siwezi sema. Amenifanya nipende tena. VP siwezi sema. Amenifanya nipende tena. VP siwezi sema.
Ended up talking about our observations, judging drunken people, vile tunapanga interventions. Machache nilisema, but I loved our conversation. Ilikuwa polite na bila ta pressure. Aura yake ni kama ya malaika. Nadhani sijatosheka, roho moyo mwili zote we imeenda.
Amenifanya nipende tena. Vipi siwezi sema.
Siwezi sema.
Amenifanya nipende tena. Vipi siwezi sema. Hey girl, don't run away with my heart. Don't make me go again from the start. Hey girl, I think I'm ready. When a man loves, anapenda kweli.
Maisha ni panda shuka, nimetembea mimi nimezunguka, na hii mto siwezi vuka bila we, nasinzia nikiwaza kila day.
Kwanza bila pesa na kuanga na pressure, juu siwezi kutesa, lakini madam asoli napigana, vita nimepigana, miezi zinashikana. Hey.
Amenifanya nipende tena. Vipi siwezi sema. Amenifanya nipende tena. Vipi siwezi sema.
Yep, that's song number 3. Of course, at song number 2, we had Pressure. This one is Just for Lovers. Just for Lovers. Mutura is that guy you don't want to take your girlfriend to his gig, you know? Unaza rudi bila, hey. Good stuff. Let's get number 4 and then number 5. And I'm actually looking out to see which songs are you guys liking most. I think so far I like Pressure. Pressure is such a nice song. Yeah. But anyway, let's get number 4.
I took an apple every day to keep the doctors away. Ila vile napenda huyu msichana, ni ugonjwa na yendo dawa. Ukisema leo unaondoka, uendako nitakufuata. Good love is hard to come by these days. Watakusema mazuri mabaya mchana, na usiku watazidi kuchochana. Ukiwasikiza mpenzi utakonda. Hivyo keti hapa na utosheke nami. Watakusema mazuri na mabaya mchana, na usiku watazidi kuchochana. Ukiwasikiza mpenzi utakona. Hivyo keti hapa na utosheke nami. I took a puff every day to keep my troubled days away. But nothing gets me high like you. High like you, baby. I'm walking under your juju. Ukisema leo umechoka, nitaruka kichwa ukinitoka, yeah. A good girl is hard to come by these days. Tulia, sikia. Watakusema mazuri na mabaya mchana, na usiku watazidi kuchochana. Ukiwasikiza mpenzi utakona. Hivyo keti hapa na utosheke nami. Watakusema mazuri na mabaya mchana, na usiku watazidi kuropokwa. Ukiwasikiza mpenzi utakona. Hivyo keti hapa na utosheke nami. Hivyo keti hapa na utosheke nami. Hivyo keti hapa na utosheke nami.
Beautiful, beautiful. That's Mutere together with Mr. Benzo on Tosheka. And now, number 5 in our artist feature. Mutere is our artist feature of the day. This is a 5th and final song. And remember, you can always find his music online, on streaming platforms. And please, let's support our artists. And one of the best ways you can actually do that is to buy their merchandise and to attend their shows. Okay? But here's number 5.
Umenitesa netosheka, roho imezoea, ukitoka ninajua leo sitatulia. Kile nafikiria, huna idea, yale napitia, I know you know. I watch you put on makeup, standing by the mirror, your vibration is familiar. Yeah, it's a trigger, nakumbuka ukiweza kunifurahia. I wish you would stay, but I know you moved on. Nakujua tena sana, nikikuona najua kile unawaza. And you know, naeza jua ukidanganya. So I find it so confusing when you lie, love. It gets so lonely, usiku tanipata na mawazo. You say you love me, but najua uliniachanga kitambo. Najua uliniachanga kitambo. Oh, nitakasirika, nimeona ya dunia, sitalipishia. Kitenda utatendwa, kwanza na unayempenda. Binadamu akiumia, bado atarudia. Nakujua tena sana, nikikuona najua kile unawaza. And you know, naeza jua ukidanganya. So I find it so confusing when you lie, love. It gets so lonely, usiku tanipata na mawazo. You say you love me, but najua uliniachanga kitambo. Najua uliniachanga kitambo. Oh. Najua uliniachanga kitambo. Oh. It gets so lonely, usiku tanipata na mawazo. You say you love me, but najua uliniachanga kitambo. Najua ushamua misi wako.
Oh my God, I don't think you can call a song lonely and then it's such a banger, man. That's Mutoria. My goodness. Actually, I think I'm voting for number 5 now. That's my favorite of the bunch. Tumekuwa hapa kwa studio, tunabanjuka mbaya sana. Yes, I know if you're watching this on YouTube, I'm still seated. But hey, I'm dancing spiritually, okay? I'm dancing on the inside. Huku ndani manze, I'm just having the time of my life. Fantastic. Now remember, today we're talking about public participation. And it has been a very interesting week in Kenya. 2 weeks ago, we had when I was on this show about 2 Saturdays ago, I spoke about the Adani deal. And part of the problems the Adani deal was bringing, even highlighting some of the media articles. And this past 2 weeks then, the story has been the impeachment of one Mr. Gachagua. All right? Gachagua is the Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya, for those who may not know. And now, Kenya's constitution, before 2010, the president will be elected alone, and then he will appoint a vice president. I also covered on this show about 2 weeks ago how vice presidents would come and go, okay? And it would happen. The president comes, anangoa huyu, anaeka huyu. And so the idea was, we don't want that sort of chaos in our country. Sawa. And so the authors of our constitution, those who helped put together our constitution, then decided, you know what? We actually are now going to have a situation where the deputy president and the president are voted in together simultaneously, which means the deputy president does not then serve at the pleasure of the president. For him to be removed, you actually have to impeach him. You have to go to parliament and get him impeached. So that's what is happening now in the Republic of Kenya. And it's been very, very interesting to actually see how this has progressed. Of course, Parliament is required under the Constitution of Kenya to ensure that public participation is undertaken whenever it's carrying out its legislative functions, all right? Or it's carrying out its duties as a parliament or as a legislature. So yesterday, we had the first public participation, and it was fireworks. You know what? Hold on to your seats. Listen to this song, because when we come back, I will highlight what exactly happened yesterday, not only at the Bomas of Kenya, but all across the country, and what is also happening today in terms of public participation. But why the public participation? What exactly are we trying to achieve with this thing? Ladies and gentlemen, it's now 2 p.m.
Power Radio. Power up.
No disturbance. Leo ni lazima nile nyama, kisha nimalizie na shada. Nimeshajinyimanga sana, musef sana, for Susanna. You know forever I got my mama. Sitaki madeni ya madrama. Natuma za mama na pesa za chama. Akiana ni maisha ya city. Tunaishingi 50-50. Takaribishwa na mwizi ama wajanja na mafisi. Wasichana wa pretty wananita mwenye kiti. Wanaonanga niko fiti. Hawezi nieka chini. Viva la vida, la vida, la vida. Alhamdulillah nimeiva. Nimepiga luku nimeshiba. Dua langu leo limefika. Amina, amina. Alhamdulillah nimeiva. Nimekula fiti nimeshiba. Dua langu leo limefika. Amina, amina. Amina, amina. Kamshandeka koset, nishalipa na rent. Leo nimeshinda bet, sasa wapi weekend. Kamsupa kakowet, kanataka nikapet. Nikavalishe pet, kisha pewe mashete. Vaa nikwangwete, nikwangwete. Unawasha moto sasa wacha nipepete. Nibebeshe, nichezeshe. Maisha raha washa kitu vitu chekeshe. Akiana ni maisha ya city. Tunaishingi 50-50. Takaribishwa na mwizi ama wajanja na mafisi. Wakubwa wa maofisi wananita mwenye kiti. Wanaonanga niko fiti. Hawezi nieka chini. Viva la vida, la vida, la vida. Alhamdulillah nimeiva. Nimekula fiti nimeshiba. Dua langu leo limefika. Amina, amina. Alhamdulillah nimeiva. Nimepiga luku nimeshiba. Dua langu leo limefika. Amina, amina. Amina, amina. Amina, amina. Amina, amina.
Karibuni sana. Now, let's get into the meat of today's topic. We're talking about public participation. Now, Kenya's constitution actually starts with "we the people." That's the preamble. To understand, this means that at its core, the constitution is about the people. It's about the governed, not the governors. All right? And therefore, one of the requirements under the constitution is that the people will be involved in their own governance. Remember, they have the ultimate sovereign power lies with the people, but they can donate that power to their elected representatives, which is what happens when you take people to parliament, right? Now, the constitution then requires, and one of the national values is public participation. This thing has been a sort of a headache for government, and you really wonder why. Because we have so many court decisions that have actually spoken on this matter of public participation. So many. Articles 10, 27, 33, 35, and 119 of the Constitution of Kenya 2010 provide the legal framework for public participation. All right? But what exactly is public participation? In a nutshell, you could look at it as the process of interaction between an organization and the public with the aim of making an acceptable and better decision. The idea is this. If you are going to be affected by a decision, if you're going to be affected by something, then as a citizen, your thoughts should be taken into account so that as we make this decision, whoever is making that decision, then they can do it in a way where they are making a better decision because they've actually listened to the people who will be most affected. Now, the process of public participation, of course, involves you first have to inform. You have to inform the people and say, this is what we are doing, this is when we want to do it, and this is why we are doing it. All right? Then it involves listening. The people then come and they give their views on the subject. They give their views on the matter that is before them. All right? Then there is dialogue, where the person who's bringing this decision or who's bringing this idea and the person who will be affected by it, they now need to dialogue. They need to exchange ideas. Then there also needs to be debate so that everyone gets to have their say in the matter that is before them. Then there's also, very importantly, analysis. We have to analyze. This thing is here. Yes, we've discussed it, but let's analyze. What exactly does this mean for us? And then, finally, you have implementation on the agreed solutions. All right? Both the national and the county governments are mandated to facilitate public participation in Kenya. So, a lot of our political class are people who have come from the old constitution and have not fully embraced the new constitution, in the sense that they find a lot of these requirements to be laborious, they find them to be taxing, they find them to be unnecessary, and they're always trying to see how they can circumvent or how they can ignore them. And when they do, people go to court and that decision is overturned. And it's a merry-go-round that keeps happening. And it's such a waste of taxpayers' money when public participation is not carried out, yet the law is actually very clear on its necessity. All right? Now, does it mean that the views of the people must be accepted or must be taken? Not necessarily. All right? Remember, the right to public participation does not impose a duty to the agency to accept the views given. Okay? It's like, these are the views, take them, you must do it. No. That's why it's a process that is governed by dialogue, that we've got to be able to say, okay, this is the feedback we have. What then do we do? How then do we go about it? Unfortunately, what has happened is that because, let's say Parliament and some of the county governments, because they know we don't have to actually do these things that people are saying, they will come, organize a public participation, then disappear. They'll never, because remember, a report must be prepared after the public participation. They will not highlight why they are going with one decision over another or why they're taking one view over another. This was a problem with the Finance Bill 2023. All right? Public participation took center stage, and the Court of Appeal was very clear. When the people come and they give you their thoughts and they give you their ideas, it is upon you as a public officer to actually show, why didn't we consider this and why did we consider this? If you do not do that, then that public participation cannot be said to have been done in accordance with the law. That is the requirement. All right? So the courts have actually said that caution has to be taken, all right, to ensure that public views must count. Because if they do not count, then it completely negates the spirit of the Constitution. It means we are just engaging in an academic exercise. So the public views that have been issued, they must count. All right? And the idea behind it is public participation, in essence, is meant to enrich the views of the office holders with the views of those most affected by a policy or by a decision at hand. Public participation is actually not meant to usurp or to overthrow the democratic role of the office holders. The MP is still the MP, all right? But also, does it mean that in public participation, everyone has to give their views? That's not practical, okay? Even when it comes to voting, not everyone votes. However, there has to be evidence by the agency or by Parliament or by the county government or by the government body to show that first, that opportunity for public participation was availed, proper notice was given for it, there were proper facilities, all right, depending on the number of people likely to be affected, that a significant portion of the population was given an opportunity to actually bring their views together, okay? So there ought to be evidence of intentional inclusivity in the participation program. Everyone must be given a chance to speak. And I'm giving this background because we're going to be looking at what happened in Bomas shortly, just to try and understand what exactly went wrong at Bomas And how do we ensure that we do not make those mistakes again? Okay? Now, inclusivity means that you can show that you took into account the principle that those most affected by a policy, legislation, or action had to have a bigger say and their views more deliberately sought and taken into account. So, for instance, if the government decides that we want to build a dam in an area, okay, the people who live there, the people whose land will be taken, the people who will be neighboring that dam, the people who will be having to deal with the construction and all that, their views should actually be more deliberately sought and they should have a bigger say as compared to someone maybe who lives 1,000 kilometers away from that place. Because they are the ones who are likely to be the most affected by that decision. Okay? Now, there is no requirement under the law as well that each individual's views should be included in the final policy or in the final law. Okay? There is no duty to accept any and every view. But you have to ensure that everyone was heard. And when you decide, I am going to go with this and not the other, you have to show why. That is a requirement under the law. Tuko pamoja? Now, yesterday, earlier this week on Tuesday, Parliament decided parliamentarian decided to table a motion to impeach the Deputy President. Parliament decided yesterday that, you know what, we're going to have public participation. The Deputy President, who's the subject of that impeachment, then went to court. Okay? And when he went to court, he says the public participation that has been provided is not sufficient. Why? Because number one, the form actually boxes the person. If you look at that form that had even been put in the papers, you could only tick on those things and the space for you to actually give your views was very limited. Anyway, that's a matter before court and we're going to wait to see what the court says. But I'm going to play some of the clips that were heard in Bomas yesterday. And this is from one of the ladies who was complaining about how public participation is being used for something like the impeachment. But when it comes to things that really matter to people, there's never really any public participation. All right? This is coming to you live. Not live, really. This is coming to you from the Bomas. Listen to this.
Hiyo inaitangwa Embakasi. So, tuko hivi. Sisi kama Embakasi South. Sisi kama Embakasi South. At least hata leo mumetukumbuka. Mtuitangi hizi vitu anyway. Leo mumekumbuka mayouth, mumekumbuka wananchi kwa sababu mko na mashida zenyu. Ingekuwa si impeachment, amungeita watu huku. Hatungeitwa leo. Na juu leo mko na shida, mumekumbuka wananchi wa chini. Hata mnatupea masaa ya kuongea na tuko na shida zetu pia. Alafu kabla hizi na hiyo masaa mnasema tutoke hapa 5 kwanza mtupe chakula tushibe. Muko na pesa mtupe chakula tushibe ifike hiyo 5. Bila chakula tunatoka hapa saa 6. Twende home. Mtuite tena tutoke saa 5. Twende home. Mtuite tena tukose kukuja. Kwani nini? Na kama mnataka sasa mjue opinion yangu sasa. Opinion yangu kama Caroline Chemto. Hakuna mwenye anabaki. Wewe, MP wakipitisha kwa parliament wanakula. Hakuna mwenye anabaki. Na ikiwezekana, pia MP waende. Hata MP
Well, that was the bombers of Kenya. And it raises a very interesting question that the contributor has actually raised. Why is it that such effort is actually not put when it comes to public participation on the things that actually matter to people? For instance, we now have the social health insurance scheme, okay? And the people that are being affected by the transition from NHIF to SHIF, it's crazy ridiculous, but you don't see any public participation on that. There was the Adani matter, where a deal was being hurried through. No public participation was actually conducted on it. There was the university new funding model, which has banded children, and it has determined, for instance, that if you went to a national school, your parents have money to educate you, notwithstanding the fact that maybe you're on scholarship. No public participation has actually been called on that. As a matter of fact, in almost all the things I've mentioned, the discussions only came after public uproar was raised. So why is it that government keeps getting it wrong? A few months ago, when Kipchumba Murkomen was a minister for transport, he indicated EPRA actually called for public participation on a fuel levy. The people turned up for the public participation and they voiced their disagreement. Kipchumba Murkomen then stood and gave the assurance, we have listened to you, we are not going forward with this levy. A few days later, he gazetted that levy. Ladies and gentlemen, where are we getting this wrong? And what is the required standard? Because remember, the purpose for public participation is to actually ensure that the citizens take and play an active role in their own governance. The idea that has been there that, Kenyans really don't care about things that are happening in government. You just sit back and we know what's best for you. We are going to do it. Those days are long gone. And it seems that a lot of our politicians, a lot of our so-called leaders, they seem to actually be unaware of that fact, that those days are gone. And we now are in a new season. When I listen to the statement made by the young lady, it's clear. The people want to be involved. The people want to be brought to the table. The people want to give their views. The people want to be told, why is this a decision you're making and why not the other one? But of course, in this case, it has been relegated to a matter that's very political. Now, let me set this straight. You must go through public participation when it comes to the impeachment of the deputy president or even the president, because that is a role that is being undertaken by Parliament. And Parliament is required in its legislative role and in its workings, you must have public participation. I see Tamia Kare says, true, 100. Okay, I guess that means you're agreeing. Fantastic. Now, when you come back, one of the things I appreciate about this show is I never really know who's listening. All right? But it's also possible that there's someone listening to this show or will listen to this show at some point. And one day you'll be in a position where you get to make some of these decisions. So even as we attack the inefficiencies and the poor decisions that are being made now, it's also an opportunity to empower you so that the day you get the opportunity to be seated in that seat, then you know what the right thing to do is and you will do it. Because remember, the Constitution needs the people because it is the people's Constitution. Let's get to music.
From sunrise to sunset, all day and night. Our radio.
African beauty, tall, dark, and handsome. He gave me his number, I gave him my name. That marked the beginning. such a beautiful thing. I don't know what I'm feeling when he's around. My head touches the ceiling, far back to the ground. Is it love or just infatuation? Whatever it is, I just love the sensation. Jana moja, jana moja. Let me tell you some more about my African king. I love his big brown eyes and the color of his skin. I can't breathe. Whenever he's not around, I go weak. Oh yeah, whenever he comes around. I don't know what I'm feeling when he's around. My head touches the ceiling, far back to the ground. Is it love or just infatuation? Whatever it is, I just love the sensation. Jana moja, jana moja. Sikuli, siyogi, and I'm so glad he's my rock, he's my power, he's my warrior king. He's got my back, he's no coward. He's my ebony baby, coffee skin like a Howard. He's my hero, my strength, he's my African Jack Bauer. And I don't know what I'm feeling when he's around. My head touches the ceiling, fall back to the ground. Is this love or just infatuation? Whatever it is, I just love the sensation. Jana moja, jana moja. Sikuli, siyogi, mpenda mpenda, mpenda mpenda. What I'm feeling, yeah. Oh, to the ceiling, yeah. Oh, mpenda mpenda, mpenda mpenda, yeah.
Ati ikisha tambla keja shika signal, acha shike labda isikie kwa kisigino. Matap-tap zinafanya wanatipito, mabambam zinapandisha malibido. Anda ma substance na maji minimo, nasikia utamu kama Bobby Cash na VBO. Piga shot kama Kamradi maini pose, nasikia raha ndani ya roho na my knees and toes. Kameshika sigino, kameshika sigino, kameshika sigino. Kameshika sigino, kameshika sigino, kameshika sigino, kameshika sigino, kameshika sigino. Leo naita meeting kwa club, si ofisi. Happy hour na HR, team building. Kando ya bigi tuna puff, no didi. Accountant wa makwang, mbele mbele. Vibe CEO konyagi na ma single tones. Ni white in the zone kisiagi wa ma digital. High kuliko rubani ako Wilson. Fry jutu kwa maftani kama bidiko. Kameshika sigino, 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 kameshika sigino. Dibiwa kwa club bila pirito, pimiwa kwa jaka upigi shot. Tingisha madam kamepigwa shock. Hii ni sitima baba tafuta sigino. Rada ni saisa mambo kesho ni highlights. Prime time na wa Rainbow at 9 live. Under my black light VIP tuki hide white. Na mamgalo anachana jaba na white wine. Kameshika sigino, 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 kameshika sigino.
Kameshika sigino. Fantastic. We're talking about public participation. And remember, we're always curious to hear some of your thoughts. You can use the live chat function on our YouTube, and also you can reach out to us on the socials at Power Radio, at James K. WaNjeri. Now, we've gotten the background of actually what is expected in public participation, but what are some of what are the courts said in terms of what are the parameters, right? When you're talking about public participation, what actually is the expectation? What is required? Number one, there has to be evidence of inclusivity, all right? This means that all stakeholders or those affected by an administrative policy or a law, they have to be given an opportunity to express or to ventilate their views, well aware of what is at stake. So number one is inclusivity. You have to show everyone was invited, everyone was given a chance. I think in Bomas, I saw some people are being told they can't speak. We had even instances of violence. That is not what the law considers. And especially when there is violence, then it means that you have now completely violated what the constitutional requirement is. The second parameter is that those who are affected have to be given sufficient notice of the nature of the decision to be made and when the consultations will be held. Remember, you cannot do public participation after the fact. Public participation is done before. So number one, give sufficient notice of the nature of the decision to be made and then indicate when the consultations will be held. Now, this information has to be disseminated through, for instance, public barazas, churches, mosques, print and electronic media, and other avenues to ensure that the information reaches the targeted audience. And in court, one of the things that government agencies are required to show is what were the efforts that were made to ensure that people actually became aware of the fact that there was a public participation forum that was going to be held. Number three, the government agency or the public officer in charge of the program of public participation has to take into account the participation of the governed in what we call quantitative as well as a qualitative way. All right? Basically, what you're saying here is the public participation cannot just be a mere formality. It has to be a meaningful engagement, and it has to be done in good faith. You're not there to tick a box. You actually want to hear what the people have to say, and what they say matters. All right? So it has to be both quantitative and it has to be qualitative. Then number four, public participation also calls for innovation and some level of malleability, okay? And here, depending on the subject nature, for example, if you're talking about culture, maybe you're talking about geographical issues, maybe you're talking about logistical constraints, the test that needs to be applied is effectiveness and efficiency. Was the mechanism that was used in the public participation effective in achieving sufficient public participation? All right? So sometimes, is it better to do a live? Is it better to do a virtual meeting? Is it better to go to the baraza? All right. Also noting that you have culture, there are issues of culture to be considered. There are geographical issues to be considered. Sometimes there are logistical constraints. Even, I think one of the things, for instance, the Nairobi County was, one of the problems the High Court had with the Nairobi County was the fact that Nairobi County advertised for public participation, okay? And they indicated that they had even put a poster on their website. But when they were invited to ask how many people actually clicked on that link and how many people viewed it, they didn't have an answer. Yet that is information that they easily could have received just from that. Okay? So you actually have to show that even we're not just putting this in the newspapers, because how many people read newspapers in this day and age? So one of the things you'll find, for instance, like the Senate or Parliament, every time there's public participation, they're going to actually put a poster on their social media platforms, which means that those who are not going to read newspapers will run into those notices. All right. Number 5. Public participation does not mean that everyone has to give their views on the issue at hand to attain, because to attain such a standard would be impractical. Okay? However, the public participation exercise has to show intentional inclusivity and diversity. You cannot disregard major stakeholders, otherwise it would be ineffective and illegal. All right? For instance, if you're going to talk about public transport, you cannot have that conversation without matatu owners or without matatu drivers or without the touts, because they are major stakeholders, even as we talk to the people. Those most affected by the policy are expected to have a bigger say in that policy, in that legislation or action, and their views have to be sought and taken into account. Okay? Then, how do you capture these views? You capture them through minutes or any other proof that shows that those views were captured and that they had a bearing in the final decision. Okay? If you do not do that, then you are running afoul of that law. And finally, public participation is not a public relations exercise. It has to be meaningful and it has to be done in good faith. Let's get some music, and then when we come back, we'll just be looking at some of the cases where public participation was found to have been improperly conducted or it was not properly done, just to give us an example of what the courts look at and what the courts consider. But remember, you're also still asking that question to each of you. What are your views on the impeachment process that is currently underway for the Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya, Mr. Rigathi Gachagua? Do you have any views? Do you think it's being done properly? Can it be improved? How do you go about it? I'll be right here, ready to read your views and your feedback. This is Sheria Dive, and it's always lovely to have you here. Let's get some music, and then we come back. We talk about some of the people who are caught pants down, not carrying out proper public participation.
Power Radio. Tune in and power up.
Think you can
What a hater say, sipping on that haterade. I'm tipsy off that Tanqueray and Alizé, I'm hella paid. Pair of J's on me as I hit the stage, hella bait. Toast to the hard work, so every day we celebrate. I'm just a dream chaser trying to reach paper. A few years ago, you know we hadn't seen better, so I had to get up. Hustling never seemed better. I'm fed up, but it won't get the best of me, my nigga. I live a fast life, you can see Mula team holding down Africa from the east, please. You know we're trying to stack up all the G's, getting money overseas. Mikey told me had a dream, Luther King, we believe.
And if I'm gonna make it worth it, then I gotta go hard. Go hard. Got my city on my back. If you feel me, holla back. I do it for the 250. We hold it up, we down. You know we holding it down. We hold it up, we down. You know we holding it. We hold it up, we down. You know we holding it down. Hold it up, we down. You know we holding it. Hold it.
Gotta get that dough. Your money been the motive. Mama told me take it slow, boy. Keep your options open. Now we be all up inside your TV with a couple more beanies while we treat them haters like Stevie Wonder why these niggas bother anymore. Tell your tripper shopper man, Karungari better know that we swaggy, nigga out your swaggy. Tucci's rolling doobies with some beanies in no backseat. But I don't trust these bitches. I don't trust these bitches. I don't trust these bitches, cause they might catch me slipping. But you already know, Kemula, that's that 2-5 flow. Yeah, not Ruby Town. You know we holding it.
And if I'm gonna make it worth it, then I gotta go hard. Go hard. Got my city on my back. If you feel me, holla back. I do it for the 250. We hold it up,
Ruby Town. You know we holding it down.
hold it up,
Ruby Town. You know we holding it.
hold it up,
Ruby Town. You know we holding it down.
hold it up,
Ruby Town. You know we swear.
for this moment since I was 12 now. Rock a snapback, folk a fitted, let your brain smile. And we just glad you finally listened cause you chose style. 5 mighty kids been on a mission while they talk slang. You spit, I vomit, have you on it, dog, I breathe rhymes. No Superman, just rapaholic, see my team shines. So now I'm sipping gin and tonic, we don't squeeze limes. Cause life's been bitter for a nigga, but I'm still fine. Hey. I hope you learn the basics. Boy, them A to Z's, your 1 to 3s ain't talking about the matrix. Thanks to KFC, oh yes indeed, I've graduated to MC. Living my dreams, glory to G.O.D.
And if I'm gonna make it worth it, then I gotta go hard. Go hard. Got my city on my back. If you feel me hot, now back. I do it for the 2-5 below. We hold it down.
Hold me down, you know we holding it down.
Hold it down.
Hold me down, you know we holding it down.
Hold it down.
Hold me down, you know we holding it down.
Hold it down.
Hold me down, you know we holding it down.
Kusema kweli bado na kuhata, and on the daily bado na kufata. Kosa sio hoja zaidi ya kukupenda. Vipi nikatupa ndoto tulizoziota. Uliniwasha nare enzi zetu za kupare, kwa mvinyo na makale, magizani hadi ngware, nikijifanya dakitare wa mabinti wale wenye shepu za hatari, nikapotelea ndani. Ila mwambie nampenda, roho ya mtamani bado nampenda. Ukimwona mwambie nampenda, roho ya mtamani bado nampenda. Ukimwona roho sawa na mabua. I can't help but miss you every morning. Vile unapendeza, kama ningeweza jua yepi ya kutarajia, nisingejipata mashakani kwa niliyoyatenda. Ninayempenda ni wewe, hakuna mwingine wa kubadili penzi. Ningependa tuelewane, kiburi kisinikosanishe nawe. Uliniwasha pale na sikushika nare, ukanisema kwa jirani kwamba mimi kisirane, aibu za hadharani, vile penzi hatari. Njoo unipe amani kama hapo zamani. Mwambie nampenda, oh yeah, roho ya mtamani bado nampenda. Ukimwona mwambie nampenda, roho ya mtamani bado nampenda. Ukimwona
One of the most beautiful things about Kenya's constitution is the fact that it has given the citizens, you and I, the power to actually confront decisions that do not align with the constitution and to challenge them. And one of the ways you do this is through filing a petition at the High Court of Kenya. The High Court of Kenya has what we call original jurisdiction to deal with all matters that occur within this country. But also, only the High Court can give an order or a decision on the constitutionality of an action. Now, in 2019, one Fred Matiang'i, who was the Minister for Internal Security, under the powers conferred to him under Section 14.1 of the National Government Coordination Act, established a sub-county which was called Igamba Ng'ombe, with the headquarters at Kathwana. Now, this was done via a Gazette notice that was dated 21st of June 2017, and it was done without the participation of the people of the Chuka sub-tribe. Now, the petitioners argued that the creation of the new administrative unit was done without the input and participation of the people from the Chuka sub-tribe, who they claimed occupied Chuka Igamba Ng'ombe constituency. Of course, Matiang'i and other respondents objected to the petition on the grounds that the establishment of the Igamba Ng'ombe sub-county was lawful and that it was done after public participation and with the authority of the president as stipulated under the constitution. They contended that Section 14.1 of the National Government Coordination Act expressly authorized the minister, at that time Mr. Fred Matiang'i, with the approval of the president and through a notice in the Kenya Gazette, to establish a National Government Service Delivery Unit. One of the questions that was asked here is, was there public participation in the creation of Igamba Ng'ombe sub-county? Second, what is the significance of the importance of public participation? Then, what factors should be considered by courts when determining whether the threshold for public participation had been met? Then finally, whether a list of attendees of a meeting by itself would meet the required threshold to prove that public participation had taken place. Now, this matter was taken to court by one Isaac Mugo and 14 others, and it was filed before the High Court at Chuka. The court, in reviewing this, first found that one of the pillars of Kenya's constitution was the concept of devolution or decentralization of government services from the capital of Kenya. Mr. Fred Matiang'i, acting as a cabinet secretary for internal security, was required to ensure that the creation of Igamba Ng'ombe sub-county was in tandem with decentralized units that had been established by the county government and that had been defined by the IEBC pursuant to Article 89 of the Constitution, as read together with Section 48(1)B of the County Government Act 2012. The Cabinet Secretary was in charge, the Cabinet Secretary in charge of coordination of national government functions was given a window under the National Government Coordination Act to establish a coordination unit where a county government had not done its part in the creation of decentralized unit. All right? So in this instant case, the Cabinet Secretary had not been faulted for breaching the provisions of Section 48 of the County Government Act. But the court was also of the view that the establishment of the Igamba Ng'ombe sub-county was done by the Cabinet Secretary whose competency under Section 2 of the National Government Coordination Act was not challenged in this petition. All right? It was established through a Gazette notice. He was expressly authorized with the approval of the President of the Republic of Kenya to establish National Government Service Delivery Unit. So this is what was happening. They were creating sub-counties, and Igamba Ng'ombe was one of the sub-counties that had been created, all right, within Chuka. But the Cabinet Secretary had the express authorization, of course with the approval of the President, to establish National Government Service Delivery Units. So in this case, the court found that it had not been contested that Mr. Matiang'i had acted on the President's authority in establishing the subject sub-county. Okay? So he acted with the requisite legal mandate. Now, The court went on to look at Section 48(1) of the County Government Act 2012, and it provided that the functions and the provisions of services of each county government was to be decentralized to units such as a sub-county, which was specifically defined to be equivalent to constituencies within the county. So the provisions of Article 89 of the Constitution gave the mandate of delimitation and delineation of electoral units such as a constituency to the IEBC, which is the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission. In carrying out that mandate, the IEBC was required to carry out meticulous process that had been well stipulated under the IEBC Act under Section 3. And the central theme in that is that there had to be public participation. You cannot engage in a delimitation of boundaries without the elaborate process of public participation of all the stakeholders. So you see what the court is saying here is that, yes, Mr. Matiang'i, you actually have been, the law actually gives you the power and the authority to carry out this process. However, the IEBC must be involved. And when the IEBC is being involved, there must be public participation. All right? Now, the court was of the view that when you give people the right to participate in decision-making on matters affecting them, it not only inspires confidence, but it makes them feel that they are respected. And this is actually provided for under Article 28 of the Constitution of Kenya, which states that every person has a right to dignity and the right to have that dignity respected and protected. All right? Now, the court looked at the evidence that had been presented here. There was a letter that was dated 18th April 2016 that was accompanied by minutes of a meeting held on the same date, and they actually proved what the county commissioner had stated in her affidavit, that there was adequate public participation. But the court didn't just look at that and take it. A closer look was carried out, and a closer look at the list of the attendees of the meeting did not actually reveal how they were picked to attend the meeting and whether those attendees were representatives of all the residents of the subject area. Now, the list was also unclear because while the list was headed minutes of the leaders' meeting held at Deputy Commissioner Office, Meru South on April 19 at 9 a.m., the list showed that administrators and opinion leaders attended, but how they were picked was not clear. So in this case, the government decided to gather leaders from the area. And the court is saying, okay, fine, you have leaders here, but how are they picked? Because remember the key question at the heart of this was whether the proper process was carried out in ensuring that the people most affected engaged in public participation. Okay? The court also found that those who attended did not give their particulars. There were no ID card details. They had not signed against their names to show that they actually attended the meeting. It was also not indicated whether the attendees were representatives picked from every part of the area and whether they were well informed beforehand that such a meeting would be held and the subject of discussion would be creation of a new sub-county. No notice was actually put there to show this is what the meeting is going to be about and this is what we are going to be discussing. Because in public participation, it is essential that the people must know this is what we are going to talk about there. So that if someone is coming to bring new stories, they are told, Apana, not here, not now. Now, the petitioners in this case claimed that they had been excluded as a community from expressing their view and looking at the documents that were placed in court by the government. Their grievances were legitimate because they had not been responded to adequately. Now, another meeting was held on April 15, 2014, where the respondents, including the cabinet secretary, claimed that public participation was conducted on the creation of the subject sub-county, showing that the agenda of the meeting was a change of name from Meru South to Igambangombe sub-county in line with the Igambangombe constituency. The court found that there was no way that the respondents, the government, could claim that there was adequate public participation on the creation of a new sub-county when the minutes that were being used to purport to prove that there was public participation clearly indicated that the agenda of the consultation in the first place was a change of name of a sub-county. So do you understand what's happening here? These guys are saying, no, there was public participation, okay? on the matter of creation of a new sub-county. But then the court is saying, wait a minute, the agenda in the minutes that you have showed here shows that you are just changing the name. You are not creating a new sub-county. Because remember, those are two different things. Changing a name is fine, but creating means you even start touching boundaries. The court said there were many people who attended and appended their signature, but again, it fell short of the required standard. How was the meeting convened? There was no notice that was put there. Were all the stakeholders invited? No evidence of that was provided. Were those who attended fully briefed about the agenda of the meeting? The court said, to reach the required threshold of public participation, those questions had to be answered in the affirmative. The answer to all of them had to be yes. It was not enough to just rely on a list of attendees. Okay? Now, the court also was of the view that the agenda of the meeting that had been held on April 15, 2014 was not the creation or establishment of the sub-county. That was a fundamental flaw to the establishment of the sub-county. The meeting of April 15th that had been held at the chief's office appeared to have taken place concurrently with the meeting referred to that had been held at the Deputy County Commissioner's office at Meru South. The meeting was held at Kathwana location, which the court took judicial notice of the fact that it was situated at the lower part of Igambangombe. It was not a venue convenient for other residents residing on the upper part of Meru South. Okay? So this meeting that happened at the chief's office was on the southern part. Those who actually was on the lower part of Meru South. But there was no venue that had been created for those who lived on the upper part of Meru South. So it meant everyone, even the guys who lived on the upper part, had to come down to the lower side. And the court said, come on, that actually does not work. Public participation was not conducted in all the locations comprising the subject sub-county. The county commissioner could not truly claim that there was wide public participation where all the residents and that other stakeholders like the county assembly and county government were invited and given an opportunity to give their views. The court was also of the view there was no evidence that the meeting was inclusive enough and the meeting was held prior to the promulgation of the new constitution. The question of creation of a unit known as a sub-county had not crystallized then because there was no constitution. So the level of participation of the majority stakeholders did not reach the required threshold. The court was also of the view that what was important at the end of the day was not how the formula of public participation was applied, but the fact that you have accorded the public and stakeholders some reasonable level of participation. Now, the forms of facilitating an appropriate degree of participation in the lawmaking process can be infinite. You can have infinite variations of it. The most important thing at the end of the day was that a reasonable opportunity was offered to members of the public and all interested parties to know about the issue and to have an adequate say. What amounts to a reasonable opportunity will depend on the circumstances of each case. It could not be expected of the lawmaker that a proposal hearing would be given to every individual who claimed to be affected. All right? Now, there was also a claim that some of the interested parties had been consulted, but they did not table any evidence of public participation. All right? So, because of that, there was insufficient evidence to find that the process was inclusive. All right? Now, the level of engagement that the cabinet secretary had done, Mr. Matiang'i had done at that time, was wanting in some respects. Number one, he was required by the Act to accord and respect the county government decentralized units that had already been established. Now, the member of the county assembly, the MCA for Igambangombe ward, was of the opinion that two sub-counties, namely Igambangombe sub-county and Chuka sub-county, be created or established. If the view of the MCA represented the view of his electorates, then it appeared that the view of some segments of the community, at least represented by a member of county assembly, were not factored in. The minister had not shown that the views were considered alongside other views from the other residents. So this is a case where you had separate views from the same people who live in the same area, but they had separate views, okay? Also, there was no evidence that the view of the county government of the Rakanithi through its executive and the county assembly were sought in line with section 14.2 of the National Government Coordination Act. There was no evidence that the IEBC was involved, especially when it came to issues of the boundaries. Now, the court was of the view that the minister had a discretion to determine the process of public participation, but it was important to ensure that the degree of public participation met the threshold. To argue that, hey, public resources have already been used to create this, this was a response of the court. The court said that was akin to saying the end justified the means, which is untenable in law. And that's very key for us to learn, that when it comes to legal matters and matters of public participation, the ends do not justify the means. The ends are just as important as the means that were used to reach to those ends. So the end product ought to always have been as good as the process. Both had to be lawful and should have met the constitutional threshold. So while it was true that some level of consultation had been carried out, the public participation carried out in the establishment of Igambangombe sub-county was not effective. It fell short of the constitutional and statutory requirements. There was no evidence that the petitioners, who were the residents of the sub-county, were given a reasonable opportunity to express or to ventilate their views regarding the establishment of the administrative unit, and yet they were part of the stakeholders of the sub-county. So what happens? The court issued a declaration that the creation and establishment of Igambangombe sub-county was illegal, unconstitutional, and a nullity. It was declared void ab initio because the sub-county had been created without constitutional principles of public participation and inclusiveness. I give this example because we often like to focus on matters that are happening at the national level, but the reality is the Constitution gives you the power and the authority to actually ensure that the things that matter to you in your small space, in that constituency, in that ward, in that county, that all those issues can be subjected to the test of the Constitution and they pass that test. In this case, 14 residents of Chuka went to court and said, wait a minute, this thing has been created, it affects us, and we are not actually given an opportunity to lend our voices to it. It was done without us. The process that has been used is an unconstitutional process, and the court said, we agree with you. The Constitution has given you and I the greatest gift possible, which is this, that we get to participate in how our country is run, in how decisions are made, and in the policies that affect us. Without that, then those things do not meet the constitutional standard. So all eyes on Parliament as we look to Tuesday when they go back to report on the feedback that had been collected with regards to one Rigathi Gachagua. Of course, when the process comes to an end, we'll be here to talk about it and to judge it and to see whether it was done appropriately, what should have been done differently. We'll be back here on Monday because this show runs every Monday 5 to 6 and on Saturday between 1 and 3 p.m. Today, the skies are blue, but it also feels cold. Have fun. Usishikwe. Remember, as we've always said on this show, ukishikwa leo, hadi Monday. So please, stay out of trouble. Be safe. God bless you and have a lovely weekend. This is Sheria Dive right here with me, WaNjeri, on Power Radio.
Power Radio. Tune in and power up.
Tunapita kama moshi na kabla tuzame mchangani, kuna kushinda na kufeli, inabidi ujijue tofauti ya mwalimu na it this far. Undeniable. We see the promised land from afar, and it's so beautiful. No, they can't touch the fire, and you know it's not in vain. Steady tripping through the pain. Oh, we're steady rocking on the midnight train. Steady rocking on the midnight train. Oh Lord, steady rocking on the midnight train. Steady rocking on the midnight train. On the midnight Zion.
Siku zazidi badilika, mengi yazidi kunipita jama. Oh no, maji yalipozidi unga, hawakudhani tutafika. It's unbelievable that we made it this far. Undeniable to see the promised land from afar. So beautiful, they gon' know who we are. They keep on walking in the rain. Kuna blessings in the pain. Steady rocking on the midnight train. Steady, ready, ready, ready. Steady rocking on the midnight train. Oh Lord, steady rocking on the midnight train. To Zion, to Zion, to Zion. It's on our road to Zion. Nothing will ever deny us. Whatever it takes, keep on rocking. Whatever it takes, keep on moving. To Zion, to Zion, to Zion. Yeah, 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 yeah,
Steady rocking on the midnight train. Steady rocking on the midnight train. Oh Lord, steady rocking on the midnight train. To Zion, to Zion, to Zion, to Zion. Steady rocking on the midnight train. Steady rocking on the midnight train. Oh Lord, steady rocking on the midnight train. To Zion, to Zion.